Hello, Internet, and welcome to SonyCentric, the Outerhaven's official PlayStation podcast. I'm your host, Jason Kwasnicki. I'm joined by Mark Sullivan.
Hey, you know what they call it when you have two really big PlayStation stories that are like really big and surprising?
What do they call it, Mark?
They call it a dual shock.
Oh, damn. We got a wordsmith right here.
Woo!
Nice.
Okay.
How's it going, dudes?
We are also joined to my virtual left by Delaila Lugo, the lovely.
Good to be here.
Yeah, she's short, simple, to the point, but equally effective.
Good friends, good fun.
Thanks.
Now, as Mark said, we have two big points to go over in the world of Sony today. So we're going to start
summer
off.
drought, so
Yeah, we're going to start off though with some more news in the never-ending drama that is the PlayStation Neo, that everybody seems to hate, but once it comes out, everybody's going to love. The story is that apparently Sony will be revealing the PlayStation Neo. Or is it PlayStation Neo or PS4 Neo?
I mean, like, who knows? It's
Yeah.
like that's the thing. This is all the Neo is like a code name, so it could realistically be like PS4K, PlayStation Neo, PlayStation 4 Neo. It could be
PlayStation 4.5.
It could be the PlayStation.
The PlayStation 4.7, yeah. The special vibrating edition PlayStation.
Oh, I'll buy that one.
So, apparently, and these reports come from Vice and the French site Gameblog. They have anonymous sources that are saying that Sony plans to share the first official PlayStation Neo details at a New York City event on September 7th. The event is said to be quote-unquote a technical showcase, for which Sony was still sorting out the exact details as recently as a few weeks ago. That is the quote from the article. And a separate source apparently says that around that time, developers will be getting the final dev kits for the system. So those dev kits that Kotaku and them were all talking about way back in spring, I guess this sort of retroactively confirms that those weren't the final dev kits. I think that it is good to talk about these two together. So Patrick Klepek, along with a few other Inside Baseball pros, were on a Periscope podcast, and they were talking about how they were hearing from their friends inside the game that Sony was taking a look at maybe modifying their original plans for the PS Neo, maybe ramping things up a bit so as not to look too outdated by the time Project Scorpio, Microsoft's own upcoming console, comes out, because obviously 6 teraflops and the highest quality pixels you've ever seen. That's a real doozy
you've ever seen. Remember that.
That's a real doozy. It's almost as good as the highest quality circles ever. PR speak, folks. Learn it and learn it well, and you can never go wrong in life. So we're learning now that definitely in September, or let's just assume this is true. Definitely in September, early September, we're going to be finding out about this and the exact specifics. I mean, as of right now, Sony has only officially said that A, they wouldn't be bringing the Neo to E3, and B, all games coming to Neo would be playable on the PlayStation 4 as well. They would be two consoles that are meant to stand side by side. So we know that, and if we're assuming this article is correct, we know it will be revealed early September, and we can speculate as to when the release will be, and there may or may not be some more tinkering going on with the originally leaked specs. I'm gonna go a little unconventional today. I'm gonna start with Delaila, because people like to hear Delaila speak.
People do, actually.
What do you think about this, Delaila?
Gassing my head up. Well, all I can say about this is it definitely confirms our suspicion that they were, avoiding releasing any information about it, because they saw, all the specs of the Scorpio, and they wanted to improve that. At least that's what this article speaks to.
Right, so one of the reasons you think they might have abstained from E3 with this was a reactionary move.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I mean, say what you will. I mean, I still think there was a lot of good strategy going on behind the PlayStation 4's reveal, besides what happened at that E3. But a lot of people do point to that E3 and say that, Sony pretty much tailored that press conference to knock out Microsoft in every way possible. So they have been known to be a bit reactionary before, and it's not a terrible strategy. It works out when you play it right. Mark, what are your initial thoughts from this?
I mean, that's definitely possible. There's something we didn't really talk about much, or I don't know if we even mentioned it at all, but once again, this is the second year in a row, Sony is skipping Gamescom, or at the very least having a keynote presentation at Gamescom. Mm-hmm. I feel like the fact that they're going to have some reveal event early September kind of matches up with that.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that.
Completely forego that event to have their own, where they announce this. And it very well might be reactionary. It's early September. PlayStation VR launches October 13th.
Right. And this is, according to rumors, supposed to be a companion piece.
Right, and we talked about it either last week or the week before. Like there's still talks that this console is supposed to come out this year, day and date with PSVR, and they're cutting it very close.
For sure.
And even the Xbox One S, if we want to go just talk about Microsoft, they announced a console at their E3 press conference, and that came out 2 months later. The Xbox One S is now out. You can purchase it less than 2 months later, actually.
No, exactly.
But that wasn't. I wouldn't say that was a crucial piece of hardware in the same vein that the PlayStation Neo has kind of been touted since its initial leak,
Well, be careful who touted it as such, because I don't think Sony ever really imagined it as being as important in the. I don't think they really ever imagined it being anything more than a companion piece to VR, quite frankly. Well, yeah, but I think when the information leaked, the press kind of started speculating,
Well, let's once again go ahead and say that this is pure conjecture.
Right. Yeah.
This is all just based off of all the rumors that we've collaborated on, talked about on this show so far, which have all come to say that for all intents and purposes, this is kind of a requirement for VR if you want VR to run smoothly, so to speak.
According to some, obviously.
According to some.
Yeah. So, and again, this is so hard because literally all we have officially to go on is a few words from Mr. House before E3. So, it's difficult. I'm of the mind that I don't really know if they could tinker with it all that much. I mean, if they were gonna reveal it early September and it's supposed to come out around October, you got to keep in mind there's all sorts of production that has to go on. Ideally, honestly, if this thing was coming out in October, it would already be in production, if not far along in production.
I have a feeling that what they're tinkering isn't so much the hardware itself, but the marketing of the hardware.
Perhaps, yeah.
It's the same kind of deal they did with when the Xbox One was revealed, and then when that E3 2013 rolled around. They revealed the price point of the Xbox One, and then hours later, Sony and PlayStation tinkered their marketing to, say, we're all about used games. Used games are cool with us. They put out those fast track videos, and they kind of switched up their marketing in order to fit more with what the players and what the consumers wanted. I kind of feel like that's what they're doing right now. I don't know that they're really that hardware is really what they're tinkering with, and it's possible that it is a minor thing. But like you said, production has to already be in the full swing of things if they're gonna come out in October with this console full swing. I think it's more so they're trying to get their marketing push right so that they can sell this sooner than the Scorpio will be sold.
Now here's a question I have, because from my perspective, given what I'm speculating about the Neo, and I'm speculating personally that the Neo was always supposed to be a premium item that was for enthusiasts and people who really wanted to get the highest quality VR experience, that it was never supposed to be like a mainline piece of hardware, or not mainline, but it was never supposed to be their featured piece of hardware. It would be their most powerful at the moment, at least. But from what I had always speculated, I always thought that Sony knew they wouldn't sell. It wouldn't sell, it wouldn't sell crazy numbers enough to be kind of their primary focus. It would just be something, for the enthusiast. And so, in my mind, I don't see the PS Neo, or I never saw the PS Neo as really having to compete with the Scorpio, which I feel like is trying to do something completely different in the sense that it's revitalizing the Xbox brand, and in some ways just ending their current generation. They're just saying, hey, we lost this last round, let's move forward, But because of all the leaks and because of the press speculation, it has become this arms race. So I just wanted to press to you guys, ask you this question. Do you think that the PS Neo needs to even compete with the Xbox Scorpio? Delaila, we'll start with you.
I think the only reason it would need to is not because people aren't going to buy it if it doesn't have the same power as the Scorpio, but more because people are just using it as a point of comparison, like, oh, the Scorpio has these specs, like, what about the PS Neo? I think that with the VR, that's like a strong enough selling point to be able to use that smoothly. But I think that what they're probably doing is just making it even more powerful, plus the VR stuff. Like, I think that, like you said, the initial intention was to just have the VR work smoothly on this console and adapt to like 4K technology. And now I feel like with the Scorpio and all this comparison happening from consumers and press, they're just, they're like, okay, let's just bump this up a little bit and make it a little more as powerful as the Scorpio. I don't really think they need to, but they're probably like, why not? We might as well just do it.
Mark?
I mean, the biggest thing about the biggest thing about the Neo is we still don't really know exactly what it is. Like, our whole thing about this being a companion with PSVR is complete conjecture based off of what the press has come out and said with rumors and leaks. We know what the Scorpio is because Phil Spencer came out and told us. We don't really know what the Neo is.
Yeah, for all we know, it could be the next step
right.
envisioned by Sony.
It could be. Or it could just be like, here's a better souped up console that, will make VR run a little better. The only way I would say that this is definitely competing is that it's another mid console cycle upgraded console on par with what Microsoft is sort of doing. As in addition, like they're both kind of putting out a system in the middle of their respective consoles' lives. That's the only way I can see right now that it competes. And until we know more about what the system is, that's all we can really say about it.
Fair enough. And all right, so I guess my second question then is to that point of, I guess the public kind of sees them as competing, and therefore they have to be competing, even if they aren't necessarily targeting the same markets, or maybe they are. I think it's still a little early to even speak to the Scorpio. I mean, obviously they're really trying to go after the power brand of being the leader in terms of hardware, but I think both of them are really in the early phase. Well, the Neo's not in the early phases. The Neo's about to come out, but it feels like we're in the early phases.
Right, because we still know nothing.
Exactly. But let's say that, all right, they're both targeted at the same audience. They have to compete. They are competing. That's just a given. Does this really matter, this competition, given Sony's current position? I mean, either you can jump in and answer
that. It matters to fanboys.
Oh, I'm speaking simply from a business perspective.
Well,
I don't think so. I think PlayStation has such a big following now. Like they've like proven themselves, and like everyone is like on the PlayStation now. I don't think that people are gonna move on to play Xbox if they don't have it already. Away from the PlayStation. Like I think people that are playing PlayStation now mostly are going to continue to play PlayStation whether they buy the new consoles or not.
Gotcha.
I think what Sony really needs to, and this goes back to what I was saying in that they're not rethinking the hardware, but they're rethinking the marketing. They need to find a way to market this to people like the three of us that already have PlayStation 4s, and They need to find a way to sell us.
Enthusiasts.
Yeah, exactly. Enthusiasts. You've said this. You've said this earlier in this episode. They need to find a way to get us, the people that have been diehard PlayStation fans, the people that bought PS4 either early or on launch day, to buy this new souped-up system, whether or not we're getting PlayStation VR. That's why I think it matters. They need to. That's why I think what they're really doing is rethinking their marketing, because they just need to find a way to sell this thing to the people that have already bought PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I agree. I had always assumed that would be the market for it. I mean, other than that, I don't think we can really speak more to this because, quite frankly, we don't know that much more. But it's always fun. The gift that keeps on giving, PlayStation Neo. Supposedly we'll know in approximately 30 days what the fuck it is.
I almost want to go back and tally up like every episode where we've talked about this fucking thing,
and literally said we don't know, so we can't.
Literally said,
right.
I want to tally up like how many times I've said the same thing over and over again.
At least this podcast is honest about it. There are so many podcasts on like, you got Beyond and GameSpot's podcast, all these big sites with their podcasts, and like they'll spend like 15 minutes to a half an hour talking about PlayStation Neo, trying to make it sound like they know anything more than nothing about it.
I mean, and that's fair. I mean, they I don't know, they feel like they know a little more about business practices, but it's nice to get an idea of just pure conjecture from standard consumers, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, of course they have insider baseball knowledge, and I know this guy who works here, and he says, oh, this dev kit does that, but the fact of the matter is that nobody has the whole picture.
You're bringing up insider baseball a lot. Do people play a lot of MLB? Like,
no,
do they play a lot of the show? I'm kidding.
It's an idiom.
I know.
I don't play MLB the show.
Why not, man? I hear it's a pretty dank game.
I heard you get on PS Plus a while back.
There's the dank of the episode.
Yeah, man. Jason just totally brushed over that.
No, I didn't brush over it. I was just trying to play off it, man. Whatever.
All right.
I was making a PS Plus joke back to back with a dank joke. But let's move on.
All right.
And for those of you who are wondering, no, we did not do a What Are You Playing this week, because we got too much to talk about. Because everybody is on the fritz about this No Man's Sky business. And if you don't know what I mean about No Man's Sky business, if you watched our last episode, we were talking about how the game had leaked. Somebody had purchased the game for $1,300. So a mom and pop shop was willing to break street date, sold them the game. Bunch of drama. He was streaming it and then decided not to stream it when Sean Murray tweeted out for people not to watch it. And then Kotaku and Polygon and a bunch of other people were like, hey, we're not getting review copies until the day of. We might as well go and find people willing to sell us the game before street date.
Right.
And they did the exact same thing. And now, and let's be completely clear here. Sean Murray and Hello Games said months ago that there would be a day one patch and that the game would be continually updated and stuff would be added long after the game first came out. But now it's becoming a big deal that there's a day one patch in the game, because God forbid, everything's not there. God forbid the entire 5-year plan for the game isn't on the disc the day you buy it.
Right.
But now there's this whole big deal about the game having a day one patch because, well, the people who've been playing the game early have found some exploits, some problems, things that apparently that Hello Games had been working on to fix. And there's a huge patch note if you go to Hello Games to nomansky.com. It's called Update 1.03. The majority of it isn't even like exploit fixes and such. The majority of it is content that was originally planned for the game. They were just going to work on it and put it in as patch form. It includes story stuff. It includes balancing. It includes new functionality, expanded content, all this different stuff. You can go check it out there. But I kind of wanted to talk about this day one patch situation. Because honestly, for me, if a day one patch works as it's intended to, what is the big deal? I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking weird. Am I fucking weird, Mark?
I mean, yeah, but for other reasons.
Okay, good.
We don't need to get into that, though.
I get jiggy with it.
Na.
But Mark, so why am I not weird about this?
What, about day one patches?
Yeah.
We live in... Day one patches I can understand people having an issue with years ago, but we live in an age where deadlines are really pressing for a lot of developers. For them to get the game complete and then work out bugs while the game's being manufactured, pressed onto discs, and then put out a patch so that the day that it's released, people can play it more enjoyably. I don't really necessarily see the issue with that.
I mean, exactly. Delaila, do you disagree?
Not at all. I mean, I'm no developer, and I think a lot of people that are upset about day one patches have no idea like how that works, and it's a really like convoluted checklist of shit that they need to go through.
I mean,
and you're also like considering like consoles also update, so then these developers are having to update their games based on like firmware updates or whatever, and like there's like just this constant like stuff of just confusion that they just have to constantly work on. Like, it's not just you make the game, it's perfect, and then you're done, and then nothing changes. Like, even if it's the game that's complete, there's consoles that change.
Games are supported, like, even games you wouldn't think of, like, single-player games, they're supported with updates long after they come out. And what I find hysterical about all of this is that 90% of these patches and updates, like, nobody even knows any better. It's just hilarious, like, what situations, like, they come... I mean, granted, I will admit, like, when you have a situation like Assassin's Creed Unity, where, like, literally the character models are, like, falling apart, and, like, they're, like, doing freaking, like, Michael Jackson dances while they got, like, no skin, and, like,
I mean,
they're, like, twitching and bobbing everywhere.
That's also a case of a huge publisher like Ubisoft, who for, really, if you really think about it, they didn't really have much to lose.
Yeah, true. I mean, and not even that, like, that also speaks to a large difference. People talk about how, back in the day there were no patches, back in the day the entire game came on the cartridge. Well, guess what? Back in the day, games were made by, like, 8 guys in their mom's basement.
Or it's not even that. It's not even just that. It's that games today, like, they take so much more work, they're so much more ambitious.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about, is that as the amount of work going in, as the amount of code going in, as the amount of people involved, I mean, it's grown exponentially since, like, the days of Super Nintendo. It's just literally a statistical law that there are exponentially more chances for things to go wrong, especially when you consider now that PC gaming has gotten to the point where there are infinite combinations of ways your PC can be set up, and you got a QA for, like, every single one of those SKUs,
Right.
So it just making quality assurance just becomes a nightmare. And I mean, I'm not saying like that excuses every single game that comes out, but like it just is. I'm just saying it to give people a frame of reference.
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are concerned about is if you do go to the No Man's Sky website to see the patch notes, they're pretty extensive, and there's actually a lot of big changes to the point where the game it almost makes a lot of what the guy that purchased the game for $1,300 last week, it almost makes a lot of what he said negligible.
Right.
Like it makes
especially when it comes to the story.
Large changes. Yeah. Like there's even like story changes. And I don't want to spoil anything because once again we'll point out that there are some diehard fans for this game already without it even being out. So I won't spoil anything just for their sake as to what's in the patch notes. But it's pretty extensive as far as like how many changes are being made right when the game comes out.
Right, and oh, sorry, Delaila, were you going to say something?
No, go for it.
Oh, all I was going to say was, I guess what really got my blood boiling, what really grinded my gears, and made me want to talk about this, was that people are talking about No Man's Sky on the internet as if currently it's in a broken state, when if you watch the streams, which I actually now have gone and, watched a tiny bit of them, like, the game's not broken. It's just different than what they intended the final product to be. Like, the game functions as it is right now. Is there an exploit to get you to the end faster? Sure. But, like, and there are minor balance things, but for the most part, the mechanics are all there. There's just minor balancing and, like, little tunes that they're making with this patch that were always intended to be in this patch. It's not like, the game leaked, or Broke Street did, I should say. Oh my god, the streamers found out that the game was broken, so now Hello Games is reactively putting out a patch on day one. Like, this was the plan for months. That's what I think frustrates me the most, right. That people don't get that.
And also, just using No Man's Sky as an example, this is a game that, was presented to have numerous infinite amounts of combinations of planets and creatures and depth to it. And from the patch notes, it just seems like they're just adding to that depth and making it more in-depth, and so you can go deeper into the game. And that just sounds like a great thing to me. I cannot see any negative thing. In fact, I've changed the first thing that I want to do when I play this game from punching someone to getting a pet. And if it wasn't for the patch, I probably would have just punched somebody. But now I want to get a pet, and I want to see the pet shit out a resource.
Yes, I was just about to say that, because if you look in the patch notes, if you feed the animals the right thing, you can make them poop really rare resources to trade.
Yes, and that's what I want to do now.
Well, I guess I still just want to learn what this game's about, and then apparently become a butt pirate.
Dude, I'm going full butt pirate. Full butt pirate. No, but seriously, looking at these patch notes here, so many cool things that they're throwing in there. And at this point, I guess they had originally intended for a lot of this to just be there when players booted up the game. But now it's kind of spoiled that it's not in there, so they have to say it's going to be in there. And, most of this was probably supposed to be a surprise,
Yeah.
Right.
Players were supposed to naturally discover that you can make animals poop fucking really rare resources. That would be a funny thing that's on a YouTube channel one day, and then it goes into the wiki. Kind of like how in Minecraft shit was discovered one by one.
Yep.
The hardcore players of this game, or the hardcore fans of this game, already will probably just, completely go in blind, and they will discover those things on their own. I think anybody that has really paid attention to, podcasts, spoilers, any of that stuff, they're kind of, at this point, they just kind of don't care. So...
Yeah. The game's coming out in a few hours anyway.
Right. As of this recording, by the way, let's talk about that. The game comes out, finally, after 3 years?
Yeah, oh my god, it's been so long.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Was it 5 or 3? Either way, it's out, and I'm happy.
Yeah, and just as a final note, before, and the next time you hear... I know a lot of you folks are probably sick of us talking about this game over and over again. It's because I love it, and I jerk off to Sean Murray at night, okay? Just deal with it. So you're gonna have to hear...
Cat's out of the bag!
It's all about the beard. It's all about the beard.
Hey, we've been on record saying it frequently, but Sean Murray has a really, really nice beard.
Anyway, my point in divulging that extremely personal piece of information is that, fortunately for you folks who are sick of hearing about us talk about No Man's Sky, we will only talk about it one more time, and it will be in a special dedicated No Man's Sky spoiler cast. So you can look forward to that. That will kind of play out like our spoiler cast we did for Uncharted 4. So look forward to that, folks.
Yeah,
We're going to have a lot of that.
I have no idea how that's going to go, but I also have no idea how this game is going to go, so that kind of works out really well.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, one way or another, we're definitely doing it, so
And
look forward to that, please.
just as a closing note on like the updates and how, like, you know, today's games work, I mean, look at like something like Destiny, which is kind of a bad example because people hated that vanilla game, but still, like, the actual game itself on the disc had, what was it, somewhere between like 20 and 30 gigs worth of content, and then literally after you installed what was on the disc, you had to download like a 10 gig patch.
Yeah.
Because that's just how
that.
Online games work. And No Man's Sky is an online game to an extent because
Honestly,
you're connected to this universe.
You
look,
gotta let go of the past a little. This is how modern
Yeah.
games are now, and it's not even a bad thing.
Nope.
Honestly, think of it this way: the developer is working up until the clock strikes midnight for that game to launch. They're working their ass off to make sure that it's the best experience for every player.
right.
And they don't stop working when the game is launched.
And they
at all.
really don't. They really
I mean,
do not.
look in the patch notes. They even are telling us what they're putting in next, which is we're going to be able to build bases on planets, and we're going to be
Yeah.
able to buy like giant ass freighters and own like giant ass fleets.
God, I still have no clue what the fuck this game is, but
It's about being a butt pirate, Mark.
I'm all for it then, Jason. I'm all for being a butt pirate.
And on that note, folks, for more adventures in being a butt pirate, keep it locked to SonyCentric, the Outerhaven's official PlayStation podcast. It's, as always, it's been a pleasure. And if you want to subscribe, just go over to www.youtube.com/user/theouterhavennet, where you can check out more episodes of SonyCentric as well as our other podcast content. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Let us know we're doing a good job. If you got some opinions on No Man's Sky, do you hate day one patches? Do you like being a butt pirate? Please let us know in the comments. We want to have a little conversation with you, so please let us know. As always, I'm your host, Jason Kwasnicki. I was joined by Mark Sullivan and the lovely Delaila Lugo. Goodbye, oh shit, I messed up my byline. Peace out, internet.
Oh my god. Later.
Bye.